Greetings, Ranger fans! Jake here for another edition of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where we take a look at our classic episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews as we count down the 100 weeks to the 100th and final episode. And here we are on week 73. Welcome, Sean. Welcome, Jenny. Welcome, Nightwing Josh. Welcome to everyone still coming in. Congratulations on your advanced music concert going so well, Jenny. Glad to hear it. So, as some of you might have noticed by the lack of a proper thumbnail, I am once again encountering computer issues. It's much like with episode 95. I'm once again, knock on wood. Hopefully, this will resolve things for the rest of the year. We shall see. But my primary hard drive on my desktop died. It was no longer spinning up, so it is now getting replaced with doing a full data recovery to transfer that. Fortunately, even in worst case scenario, most of the Power Reviews stuff, especially for the stuff that's coming up in the next episodes, are all on the secondary, tertiary, quaternary hard drives. Hadn't kept any Power Review stuff really on my primary hard drive in quite some time, but that is still where my operating system is, so I still very much need it. But it did hold out for a very long time. That is a 13-plus-year-old hard drive, so it's really on me for not having cloned it before now. So I'm paying for that now, both in time and money. But hopefully in the next few days I should have my desktop back. Sadly, that does mean that there will be no deeper look and rapid run through this Sunday. Even though they were basically edited, because I actually filmed those in advance. They were mostly edited. I just needed to export export, encode, and upload them. I can't do that right now because they're on a computer that is being worked on. So I don't know quite when it will be done. I was hoping it would be done by the end of tomorrow, but it's taking a little bit longer than anticipated, probably in part because it's such an old system. So while I will likely have it back early next week, I'm going to just stick with the Sunday release schedule for now and just aim for the next rapid run through and deeper look to be the following Sunday. Until further notice. I'll let you guys know if I change my mind and decide to post it like midweek or something. But for safety's sake, I'm giving myself that week of buffer and planning to release it next Sunday at the usual time. So instead, I've been trying to focus on writing. My brain is not in the best headspace when my computer is being worked on, but I'm trying to get some writing done for some scripts that were incomplete, and I'm also running into grading time with the end of the quarter with teaching, so that is obviously also a big thing I'm focusing on. Fortunately, so long as I have the computer back next week, which, knock on wood, they say it should not take that long, I should be able to still have a hopefully productive spring break the week after next and really double down with work for 97. I haven't had a chance to work much on 97 in large part due to all the work I've been doing on the deeper looks and rapid run-throughs, dealing with burnout from 96, dealing with trying to catch up with work, dealing with the house hunt, and now dealing with the computer breakdown. I'm maintaining my calm as I internally scream in the depths of my mind. But, speaking of remaining internally calm, or externally calm, while internally there's evil afoot, let's get into this next episode. That's a workable segue, I think. Sure, why not? So, let us not forget our 3 equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Black lives matter. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Fascism is bad. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Superheroes are fun. And so let's dive in with our favorite superhero 1, Mr. Database Ranger, as we take a look at episode 73 of Database Ranger's Power Reviews, the review of Power Rangers Super Megaforce episode 13. The grass is always greener, or bluer. And go. Oh, huh. Thought I hit play. There it goes. Sorry, my trackpad was double-clicking simultaneously when I was trying to click it once. Alright. So, yes, obviously, Venjix knew that I was going to be reviewing this and decided to sabotage my computer as a result. I noticed in this recap, unfortunately, there was one little clip from the past where I missed the little black and white filter. That's something that pops up every now and again. And I'm not fond of when it happens, but I do miss things because I am always rushing to get these out. No matter how much time I give myself, it's always a rush at the last minute. So, pretty much every episode has some little glitch. Hopefully the glitch for this one is just the, oh, come on. What, there were no ads on this one? I don't know how... come on. Come on. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. Welcome to Ireno, just in time. We just made it past the previously on and had a little hiccup with ads for a moment, but here we go.
I'm still working on the Mark IV. Since the Mark II and the Mark III have both gone offline.
Any clue what might be going on?
None, and I don't like it. Ever since last year's upgrades, the selective quantum mechanical electronic eyelights have been equipped with enough shielding to deal with electromagnetic pulse bursts, transdimensional backlash, biofield energy surges. Nothing should be able to disable them like this.
Well, that's unsettling.
I love dropping these little bits of lore, like the fact that the squeeze have now been equipped with all this shielding is why they no longer malfunction when Database morphs, as they did during the initial biofield discharge when he switched into sort of his fight or flight mode.
Greetings, Ranger fans,
Salutations.
and welcome to Power Reviews.
Now let's commence with episode 10 of
I'm fairly certain that was not actually
I've reviewed the episodes
In that case, let us commence with episode
blocked
13.
that way. I think I just accidentally nearly hit MJ's wig, and we just decided to keep
in the school computer
keep that
no
take.
one's working on the
When you have a good
latest
funny
experiment.
take, you
When
want to
he's
keep with
suddenly
it.
interrupted by the arrival of Jake.
It begs the question, not only why he would entrust a public computer with this kind of sensitive data, but also...
And I know I had said before that episode 60 is the last normal review between Database and Dr. K.
Anywho, Jake is apparently promised to take
And
Emma to
it's
the
still
butterfly
true,
factory,
because
but
as
he's
much as
having
this
second
plays
thoughts
like a
for
normal
some
review,
reason.
as we find out by the
And
end,
it
it
seems that no one
really is not.
However, Megaforce Blue has more pressing
But this
matters
is
to
probably,
attend to,
this
and
is
he's playing it
the
safe on his new
last
stats.
one that's
The
really
robot
structured
super
as a normal
test
review
replaces
between
upgrade
Database and Dr. K.
And since
It definitely
Ryan was
has that
apparently busy
that
with brain
classic
freeze,
structure
Jake has no choice but to
that we
end up at
had
Emma's
seen
vacuum,
throughout much of
here
year
in
one.
Birmingham while she skips around to play
Um,
Shutterbug.
Again, just trying to lure the audience into that false sense of security.
But the moment
to make
they
it
hear
seem
sounds of
like
trouble, they're quick
everything
to ditch
is still
Emma
normal.
and morph to Mega to investigate.
They discover a new monster leading a squadron of exploits and an assault upon an ambassadorial entourage, and quickly upgrade to Super Mega Mode to counter their defense.
Now, is this one of the worst body swapping episodes? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend it's good, but I don't know if. But honestly, a lot of body swapping examples are just
And since
really
when does
awkward.
your father care at all about subterfuge?
Regardless, despite the staggering incompetence of his security detail, the ambassador is spared.
I will admit, though, that
Blue and yellow.
Jake and
I feel like the actors do a fine job, though, of actually capturing each other's characters. Back before Power Rangers got into the trend of always switching voices, which I always find a little weird, unless it's handled just right.
Check on Jake and Noah, who come to the sudden, terrifying realization that they have now switched bodies. And apparently eyesight as well.
The eyesight switch is very weird.
Was that really necessary? These events transpired a mere 51 seconds prior to this recollection.
I always love being very specific whenever I do this was just handled this many seconds ago.
Do I want to know why Jake has no clothes in his closet?
This is so weird. I really do not understand what the thought process is with this episode, I will admit. I'm so... Okay, it has been too long since I had seen this. I had forgotten how weird and awkward it is for them to switch places like this. I'm so tired. Okay, yes, it is very bizarre how they play this episode, because and it's bizarre how so many body swap episodes really don't play into the characters trying to disguise the body swap. The closest one that we've had was the recent Dino Fury one with the makeover, where we had the little this moment. This moment is so weird. Like,
okay, I'm not sure if this is saying that
like
Gia attracted to Noah when he's in Jake's body, or she's only attracted to Jake when he has Noah's mind. But either way,
everything about Gia being so like awkward in there is just so weird. Where she crushes on Noah in Jake's body is just, it's the weirdest moment. And it just really speaks to a lot of how superficial the relationship between Jake and Gia actually is. Welcome to what?
They seem to be developing an odd habit of that lately. Anywho, for now, finishing and testing out the new blaster is their top priority for some reason, even higher than making sure that their 6 teammates
also,
knows
this is... Noah basically never actually invents things for the most part in the show, except in the episode where he needs to be in Jake's body, which is hilarious.
No, I think Tetsu is just out of confidence.
Fair enough. So as they test out their newest weapon on the local formation, the Armada forces grow...
And then I believe in the Gokaiger source footage, now that I've seen it, the reason that the Silver Ranger was not in the footage was because he was out of commission. They were recovering from a recent battle, and that was why they wanted to create a new weapon. And this episode just doesn't even try to actually give any impetus for a new weapon or reasoning for why the Silver Ranger is missing.
The Rangers quickly dispense with
There's so many weird, inconsistent choices when it comes to so much of Super Megaforce.
But shorts out Noah's new blaster as well.
Like,
So they quickly morph to the alien
they decide to do, you know, they decide to do the character switch to highlight the reason why this character would be behaving like that character in the Sentai footage, even though there's nothing really that different about the way they're behaving in the Sentai footage.
Other Rangers do is feed and massage him during a montage while he continues to work on it himself.
Also,
You know, considering they're standing right in front of him, you would think this would be a good time for Gosei to say something.
Gosei. Gosei, you are useless. You are so useless.
As four of the Rangers keep him and the Bruisers busy with their Power Rangers Jungle Fury Legendary modes, while their comrade continues...
I mean, I will admit that it is something of an interesting mashup between two different Sentai Source episodes. But, again, just so many strange choices. You are mashing together two episodes of Sentai, and you still can't bypass the non-Power Ranger Sentai.
That's a so much better option than what I just described. Plus Red Mask for a quick second, because why not?
And then they do it again with a different one that's only there for a half. I want to discuss more about what went into actually reviewing this episode, and I'm just kind of getting angry at the episode itself. So, I clearly had not really thought about how frustrating this episode was in a while. Because it jumps all over the place. Character decisions make no... character choices make no sense. I also don't understand, events in other Body Swap episodes either, though. Like, if you think back to, for instance, Freaky Fight Day in Dino Charge, that one also doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because they just decide to switch all of their clothes, just like this episode, for no apparent reason, and it's very strange. You should be having the actors, behave in such a way where it's clearly an actor playing a different character pretending to be their normal character. And that is an actor's challenge that you want to see in episodes like this, and you never really do anymore.
Hopefully there won't be any other random gaps of logic as the Rangers
switching places back in Season 1 of Mighty Morphin is one of the only cases where the Rangers swapped places and then actually tried to pretend to be one another. And it's one of the only cases where it's not a monster plot. Or, well, not entirely a monster plot. SWAT sabotaged Billy's brain-reading machine, but that's neither here nor there.
Yet another proud Sixth Ranger tradition. All he needs to do now is lose his powers or turn evil to get a free furry.
I like how they do give him at least some reason for not being there with the repairing the pod. It would be nice if that was something that they touched on really at any other point throughout the season, but
what did we think of it?
Well, that was patently ridiculous.
I forgot though how breezy a lot of these normal reviews could be, compared to the current reviews where there's just so much story in between every single bit of description. And yes, I do agree, Dr. K, that it was indeed a non-stop parade of incompetence. I feel bad whenever I rag on the writers, because I know many of them are just trying their best under not great circumstances. It's so hard to understand some of the choices that are made sometimes. It's very frustrating. And, yeah, I know, Sarah Hana has done a great job as Gia. She clearly putting her all into the character. It's just that the character's just not given anything, and it just has to do weird things that are just inappropriate. And the characters also are just the characters that they were at the beginning of Megaforce, not Super Megaforce.
And more like the characters behaving according to their perceptions of one another. When that is, in fact, what they should be doing, just the other way around, because they switched bodies and they should be trying to hide it, but they're not, so...
Yeah.
I've lost my faith. But that does bring me around to another
So much
One
frustration.
challenge that Power Rangers has always faced.
And yeah, you're right. Ninja Zord out of nowhere. Like, there's
and it's a challenge they rarely actually run.
Johnson Zakor did plenty of fine work back when he was just a producer and not running the story. Back in the the Saban entertainment days.
Jumping up and down like a 10-year-old boy. But Megaforce and Super Megaforce have been dealt an added challenge.
Andros is definitely one of my favorite characters, though, that demonstrates the discrepancy between original source footage, body language, and their unmorphed body language. Because I can see how that works for the character, and I always loved that aspect of it. But one of the things I do really like about this episode from an analysis standpoint is it gives me an opportunity to talk about something that I've been meaning to talk about Megaforce, or with the transition from Megaforce to Super Megaforce since the beginning of that season, which is how the body language of the unmorphed characters connects to the body language of the morphed characters, and how they handled the transition from one set of source material characters to the different set. And they didn't really seem to put any actual effort into displaying that transition, which is definitely a point of frustration. But it's something that I really find fascinating when you're looking at source material versus new material. Glad to hear that Dawn Brothers is doing well. I still need to finish Zenkaiger before I check out Dawn Brothers, because I want to see how they connect to one another. I know that it's not too heavily connected. So you're saying the writer of this episode wrote a previous episode? Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm trying to remember which one. I can double check that real quick.
Very true. Overall, despite a mildly negative reinterpretation of the source material, this is
I'm gonna take a look at that real quick.
many illogical character choices and poorly executed plot points to overlook, and unfortunately fails to live up to its potential.
And speaking of potential, that unnamed monster was credited as Turtellini. How do you come up with
Turtellini's just a great name. Like, I don't know about you guys. I love tortellini. Tortellini's delicious. We have tortellini every week. It's a nice, quick, easy meal when everything is when you don't have a lot of time.
Great. So maybe now we can finish our conversation from earlier. Come on.
And again,
I already know all about the
database just digging right to the core of his relationships with these characters. It's just so frustrating. It's so heartbreaking.
So while everyone else was all fighting the forces,
and then this right here is just such a huge lore drop as well.
No, it's not.
Because this is where it gets hammered home that November 20th of 1998 is not just the day of Countdown to Destruction, but the day of Kay's abduction. And here we learn about how she discovered the interdimensional technology of Professor Cog.
Wait, are you talking about?
Yes, Professor Cog.
Professor Cog is actually an important character in the lore of this show. And that wasn't really the original intent, when I was coming up with the idea for this show. But it's one of those things where after seeing Clash with the Red Rangers, and after knowing that he was going to be coming back in another in the RPM tribute, it just made sense to kind of use him as a point of connection.
What's wrong? You've got to get out of here. Now. Why?
And
it's DB. What are you? It's not him.
And that moment.
Dr. K? Dr. K, do you hear me? That's not DB.
And the red eyes. And away goes the feed. And I gotta say, those red eyes, not easy to pull off. So the way that I did the red eye effect was I literally just took a field of red, and I used a little garbage mat to cut the shape around my eyes. And I tossed on some rough and edge filters, and I put a few layers on it, and I put little lens flares under there to give it a little shine. And then I continued to track that around my face whenever I was moving. The Venjix eyes are ridiculously time-consuming, and I'll probably get into that a little bit more in the next one. But yeah, knowing that I was about to and that I was about to review an episode with the return of Professor Cog, made me tighten up that connection just that much more. Because there were certain aspects, where I may not have known everything that was about to happen in the show, but I knew enough. And at this stage, I was far enough behind, because at this point I was behind by a number of months instead of just a week or a few weeks. So I had enough time to sort of integrate it a little bit more closely with the source material. And yeah, I think a number of people probably expected that if it was going to be Evil Database, it was going to be Evil Landlord Database, as opposed to a different Evil Database. And nobody, I think, saw Venjix coming. Because I'd already presented that as a red herring for a different plot point. And that brings up a really fun approach to storytelling that I like to do, which I call the double red herring. Which is where I will foreshadow, I will give a false direction on a single plot point, then have that plot point be revealed to be something else, and then have that previous bit of seemingly false foreshadowing be later revealed as actually the foreshadowing of something else, just so that you lure the audience into thinking, oh, well, this isn't part of it, and then boom, it actually is, and it feels like it's actually been set up in some way as part of the universe, and makes sense even while also being unexpected. So that sort of sandwiching of foreshadowing I really like to do. So I foreshadowed the fact that Database Ranger was the Phantom Ranger before I introduced the question of who he was. Then I foreshadowed the idea that Phantom could end up being a host body for Venjix as a misdirect, before then revealing that he was actually the Phantom Ranger, and then later after that becomes a host body for Venjix. Which was just such a fun back and forth to do. And I knew that my audience to an extent suspected that something was going on, because I had the Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, the squeeze knocking out, seemingly nothing was happening actively in the plot, so there was something under the surface, but it really wasn't clear what. But nobody was able to guess that it was going to be Venjix being introduced into the series. And it's kind of wild how many different Power Rangers characters I've actually, subtly, or elements of the Power Rangers universe that I've subtly snuck into the show here and there. Now we're actively fighting major villains from the history of the series. But the first one that we really encountered, who revealed themselves, was Venjix. Which felt very appropriate with Dr. K being such a prominent character. Although obviously now, some of the new villains that we've revealed the true identities of in recent episodes have been present for the majority of the series and have only just now revealed themselves. Yes, we will be finding that out soon. I will say, there are only 4 episodes left. So, yes, you will be finding out answers to things soon. I won't say how soon, but I will say soon. You will find them out this year. Any major mysteries will be resolved before the end of the series. There's very, very little that I expect to go unresolved. Or at the very least, I've tried to account for as much as possible, including questions nobody has been asking. But I will say, as far as I'm aware, nobody has managed to get has thus far guessed at any of the upcoming twists. I don't think that anyone has made any guesses recently on what's going to be happening in the final 4 episodes. I think at this point, there's just been so many twists and turns that people have just kind of stopped trying to guess where the final 4 episodes are going. Since DB came from RPM World, does that mean that Vendrix could have found and reversed engineered Artillotron to boost up his arsenal? Honestly, I see no reason why not. He did have complete control of that world, and that world, through my interpretation, was a world where the Turbo Rangers did exist. So he could have found an abandoned Artillotron after the fall of Hexagon. What happened to Artillotron in universe? They left it behind when they went off into space. There's just so many Zord parts strewn around Angel Grove. Like when the Rangers left and chased into space, they just left so many Zord parts just lying around. And yes, we did have Vendrix show up back in Beast Morphers, which, again, I'm just like, I still can't believe that Beast Morphers even ended up being a thing, and that they played with so many of the beats that I ended up using in Crit Defense. It's really funny to me. Final line of the series, we don't have the answers anymore. But yeah, it's so we finally have reached the end of playing coy, and now it's just going to be that sort of relentless. Okay, now we're seeing sort of the rise of the villains during the second half of the Super Mega Fall season. So we had episode 69 where the more posthumous get kidnapped at the end, and then episode 70 where DB is apparently like over Alphabet Soup and clearly showing them what's what, and then we have 71, 72, okay, just chilling with his friends, reconnecting with the people he cares about. 73, finally doing a review with Kay again, finding out what she discovered during the Summer Saga, and then at the end of 73, here comes the reveal. Vengeance is in play. Alphabet Soup is a threat. Everybody's in danger. And the next episode is where I just go for one of the biggest gut punches of the series as best I can. And I'm probably going to get choked up next week because it has a moment at the end that I basically designed for our TV tropes page so that we could have to inspire somebody to write something in under tearjerker. And somebody did. And I feel so proud of that. That's one of those big proud moments of the series for me. Oh, am I going to sneak in a reference to the Power Rangers Universe comic miniseries? I'd like to. I'm not sure. I'm reserving some judgment because I know it's not done yet, and I haven't had a chance to really sit down and read it yet. But I may make some adjustments to some scripts based off the Power Rangers Universe comic miniseries. It's definitely it's something where I want to make sure that everything ties together as best as I can. There's certain things that just don't, like Heir to Darkness, I feel just doesn't tie in with anything with regards to the comics well, as far as with the continuity of the main series. But Edge of Darkness, I'm really trying to accept as part of backstory, because it does portray an alternate interpretation of the Phantom than the one I previously had. So I've made adjustments to my interpretation of Phantom based off of what I've seen in the comics so far, and I'm going to try and see what I can account for. I'm actually considering delaying the release of 97 a little bit, by a few more weeks, just because I know that the end of Power Rangers Universe is coming out soon, and that way I can just double check. I'm like, okay, is anything messing around with my lore right here? Because we're getting into the final 4 episodes, so there's lore happening. Obviously, a major figure has once again just been properly revealed. Has just been revealed to be part of the be part of Power Reviews. So, was Phantom pulled into the rift specifically, or was it just because he was close to the rift? So that's a question, and that's one I feel like I shouldn't answer. Because I feel like if I answer either way, it would give away a little something. Oh yeah, I saw Void Queen from Dino Fury. I've written reviews of the introduction of Void Queen. They're on my computer that is currently broken. So as soon as I get my computer back, I can finish editing those reviews and release the deeper looks and rapid run-throughs for Dino Fury. Because there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in the next few episodes of Dino Fury that I've got videos on. I really want to release those because I've recorded them. I've edited them mostly. I just need to finish them up. I do still need to go back and finish. I had a really good run of writing stuff for a while, and then I hit a little bit of a lull. I need to finish up like my last 2 scripts. I need to finish up my script for 97. I've got a little bit left to write for 99, and I've got a little bit left to write for 100. And it's really just like, I just need to like wrap up the concluding thoughts for the most part, and write like a few more scenes. But I'm so close to finishing the scripts for Dino Fury and for Power Reviews, or at the very least for the first half of the second season of Dino Fury. But oh my goodness, I'm so close to finishing writing Power Reviews, and that is wild. I mean, I should have finished writing it by now because I have been filming stuff from 97, 98, 99, 100. I've filmed scenes from all of those. I just haven't finished actually writing all of them because I still have other scenes that I need to finish writing. Like some farewell scenes I still need to actually sit down and write that I've just been putting off for what feels like years and probably is. Yeah, I would... Here's the thing. It's not that I actually need more drive space. I have a ton of drive space. It's just the computer itself is old. It's a 13-year-old computer, so it's not a matter of having space. I've got the space. I've got 4 hard drives in there, totaling up, after I have a replacement hard drive, a dozen terabytes of space. So I'm fine with space in the computer. It's just the computer itself just needs to last until the end of the year, because I don't want to get myself bogged down with computer shopping while I'm trying to finish this series. I'm trying to avoid getting myself bogged down with anything that is non-essential. And I'm trying to keep computer shopping as a non-essential. No, it's a Mac. It does not use Windows 7. It is a 13-year-old Mac. I got it in winter in December of 2008. It is a 2008 Mac Pro. It is a beast of a big metal tower, and it has just kept on keeping on for the last 13 plus years. And yes, having a kid takes time. Having a job that is about an hour away from where I live takes time. House hunting to try and find a home that will allow me to drive less getting to and from work also takes time. And we're not in a great housing market at the moment, so it's a little stressful. We looked at like half a dozen houses over the course of like 5 days last weekend. It was crazy. Was the desktop new when I got it? Yep. Okay, so I forget if I've told this story. So I got a couple minutes before I'll wrap this up on the quick origin story of my desktop, because everything in my life needs an origin story. So, I in college had two. I have two bachelors. I now have my master's of arts and teaching, but when I graduated and left college originally, I had two bachelors, one in physics and one in electronic media arts and communications, which is basically video and animation. I had initially been in an accelerated PhD program as an undergraduate student, and then after a year spent in that program, I'm like, okay, research is not my thing. I've tried a bunch of different branches of research, and it's just not my thing, so I withdrew out of that program. I think I may have been the first person to withdraw out of that program. And then I realized, oh wow, I'm going to be graduating at the end of my junior year, and I don't know what I'm doing, so I decided to declare that second major, the electronic media arts and communications major. And at the end of my fourth year, I'm like, okay, I know I don't want to go into research, but I'd like to still have a master's, so that maybe I can use my physics degree for teaching. So I decided to still go into the master's program at the college where MJ and I met. And the master's program was really research heavy. They really tried to push the PhD on you, and it just wasn't something that worked well for me. But during that time, I spent a year in grad school, during which I was working towards my master's in physics, while also working to complete my second degree, my second bachelor's in electronic media arts and communications. So I was literally using my graduate school funding to fund a second undergraduate degree because I could, because I'm ridiculous. But then when I left grad school at the end of that year, I still hadn't finished up the second bachelor's yet. I just needed like 2 more courses. So I became a part-time student for 1 more semester. And the crux of all this is I went from being an undergraduate senior to a first-year graduate student, and then a part-time undergraduate senior again, which broke so much of their computer system because nobody goes from being an undergraduate to a graduate back to being a senior-level undergraduate in a different degree, let alone in a different, department. So, I almost couldn't register for my classes because I broke the registration system so hard. And if my mother-in-law had not been working in the IT department of the registration system, I'm not sure I would have been able to register for classes. But the extra fun part of all that was when I went back to being an undergraduate student, all these glitches led to my undergraduate scholarships coming back. But I didn't know that was going to happen. So the way that I was funding my tuition was I got a job at the school bookstore. Because as I was a full-time employee, I got tuition benefits to cover the 2 classes I needed. But then I got my scholarships back. And I'm like, okay, so my tuition's already covered, and the school just gave me this money. And I don't know if it's what will happen to this money once I graduate. So I'm going to go down to the school computer store and get the best desktop I can. And that is how I ended up getting my desktop. Through me doing a really weird loop-de-loop on my undergraduate studies that led to a unexpected windfall of my undergraduate scholarships that I directed towards a computer that I'm like, I want an animation and video editing computer that will last me the next decade. And I feel like I did pretty well on that front. I came out of that deal pretty well. And yes, it is on El Capitan. I was actually confirming that with the computer repair people earlier, because El Capitan is the most advanced operating system it can have, because after that point you require a better processor or something. So there you go. The origin story of my computer. I got my roommate, who was a big, like, Apple, like, fanboy, to help me, spec out the best desktop I could for the money I had. Oh yeah, El Capitan is from 2015, I think. The fact that it can even run that is impressive, considering that it's a 2008. So there you go. The origin story of my desktop, which is now currently under repair after its original hard drive finally gave up the ghost. After 13 and almost 13 and a half years. That was such a long time ago. It's wild. Oh, and I just realized that, although technically, okay, correction, it was my former roommate. I wasn't actually still living with him at the time, but he was still a big help to me. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for helping me pick that beast of a computer. You're probably not watching right now because we haven't been in touch. We should reconnect. Mike's a good guy. I introduced him to his wife. He had a great wedding. Good guy, good friend. Feel bad that I haven't seen him in, like, since my wedding. So I'm glad that you all enjoyed the story of my desktop computer. The story of my college education is obviously a ridiculous one. And yes, this stream is now running on a 2015 MacBook running Mojave. Everything that I use is old. I am an old, and I am in need of bedtime, I think, probably. So, all that said, I think now's a good place to wrap things up, because we went on a long tangent there. But thank you all for going on this journey with me once again. I hope that you all have a great weekend. And before we head out, let us not forget 3 more equally non-controversial phrases. So, number 1, say with me, chat, love is love. Number 2, say with me, chat, trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say with me, chat, robots are cool. And yes, keep fighting for all those rights if you have the opportunity, because I know that they have been under particular strain and stress over these past recent years, along with many other conflicts in the world. But I'm glad that we can still meet up together here each week and have a good time, and I'm gonna keep counting down till the final run of this thing. So thank you for sticking with me, and until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.